Hi, hello, good morning. Hope you're all doing good. And welcome to Spardha Lines Daily News Analysis for KAS examination in English. Today we picked up a couple of important articles from the Hindu, the Indian Express and the Deccan Herald newspapers. And what we will try and understand is all these articles from the examination point of view, so that we will cover all these aspects that can be likely asked in your examination. So what is that you have to do? Hit the like button, subscribe to our YouTube channel and also share it with your fellow aspirants as well. Let's get started and look into the first article for the day. The first article says 5th State Finance Commission recommends equal distribution of funds in all BBMP wards, city corporations. There are two important factors that we have to understand here. One is from the preliminary examination point of view. The other is from the mains examination point of view. From the preliminary examination point of view, we have to understand who are part or who are the members of the 5th State Finance Commission, because there are likely chances that the KPSC may ask who are the members of it, because in the past they have asked such questions. That is the first factor. The second factor is with respect to the constitutional mandate. Which article speaks about the State Finance Commission is what we have to know. That is with respect to the preliminary examination. When it comes to the state examinations, they can also ask you questions with respect to the mains. How? What is the importance or the significance of the State Finance Commission? What are the major issues with respect to the State Finance Commission? How do we address it? What are the differences between the Union Finance Commission and the State Finance Commission? That is likely to be asked with respect to your mains examination. Now, the first parameter that we have to understand is who are the members of the State Finance Commission. When it comes to the State Finance Commission, what we currently have is the 5th State Finance Commission. So, from the preliminary examination point of view, remember what we have is the 5th State Finance Commission, which is currently in place, and that can be likely asked in your preliminary examination. So, that happens to be the first parameter. Who are the members of the State Finance Commission? Headed by the former MP C. Narayanaswamy. The panel will have retired IAS officer Muhammad Sanaullah and retired controller in State Accounts Department R.S. Fonde as members. These will be the members of the State Finance Commission, which is the 5th State Finance Commission. The parameter from the constitutional aspect is which article are we speaking about? There are two articles in the Indian Constitution which speaks about it. One is in reference to 243I. The second is in reference to 243Y. One is with respect to the Panchayat, the second is with respect to the municipalities. The Finance Commission constituted under 243I shall also review the financial position of the municipalities and make recommendations to the governor. So, what is the article that we are speaking of? 243I and 243Y. So, what we will have is a State Finance Commission. If we go back to the 73rd and the 74th Constitutional Amendment, what we have is a third tier of the government. What is this third tier of the government? One, what we have is the central government, then followed by the state government, and last what we have is the local governments. These local governments are in the form of the Panchayati Raj institutions. This third level of the government or the local government is in the form of the municipalities. So, as much as we speak about the central governments, as much as we speak about the state governments, remember we also have is the local governments, which has the Panchayati Raj as well as the municipalities. When it comes to the central government, we have Article 280 of the Indian Constitution, which basically speaks about the Finance Commission. We did discuss about the Finance Commission recently, where we did discuss what we have as the vertical devolution as well as the horizontal devolution. What is this vertical devolution? Vertical devolution is basically the amount of money that is being guaranteed by the Finance Commission to the central government and the state government. So, clear-cut differentiation between the central government and the state government. How much percentage of money goes to the state governments, how much percentage of the money goes to the central government is what is called as the vertical devolution of the funds. For example, let's say for example, we have about 1 lakh crore that is received in the consolidated fund of India. Out of this 1 lakh crore, how much of it will go to the state governments? So, according to the Finance Commission recommendation given recently, the 15th Finance Commission report, what it says is that we have about 42% which goes to the state government, the rest goes to the central government, which means out of 1 lakh crore, let's say hypothetical numbers, 42,000 crores will go to the state governments, the rest 58,000 crores will go to the central government. Similarly, when we say horizontal funds or horizontal devolution, how does it work? The horizontal devolution basically means that you have the states which have got about 42,000 crores. Out of this 42,000 crores, how much will go to each of the states? For example, the state of Assam, or for example, the state of Arunachal Pradesh, or for example, the state of Madhya Pradesh. So there will be a criterion that will be prescribed by these authorities, and ultimately what we will have is that there will be devolution of funds horizontally amongst different states. That happens to be the work of the Union Finance Commission. So similarly, under 243Y, under 243I, what we will also have is a State Finance Commission. So what will the State Finance Commission do? From the center, they would have got a certain amount. The states would also have their own finances as well. From the finances that the state has, which has been received by the state, how much of it will go to the Panchayati Raj? How much of it will go to the municipality is what will be decided by the Finance Commission at the state level. So the State Finance Commission will basically have certain parameters prescribed by the state government, by the Council of Ministers. They will stick to this criterion and the principles and the agenda laid by the state governments, and ultimately will ensure that a certain percentage of funds goes to the Panchayati Raj, certain funds goes to the state municipalities, and ultimately what you have is the devolution of the funds. So what will happen? The Finance Commission constituted under 243I shall also review the financial position of the municipalities and make recommendations to the governor. The Union Finance Commission, as we all know, does not have the binding effect, which basically means that whenever the recommendation is made by the Finance Commission, is it compelling? Is it binding on the central government to follow these principles or the recommendations? No. But what you have to put on the comment section is, if at all it is not binding for the central government to follow it, is it binding for the state government under the State Finance Commission? Should the State Finance Commission recommendation be binding on the state government? Please put it on the comment section. So the distribution between the state and the municipalities of the net proceeds of the taxes, duties, tolls and fees leviable by the state, which may be divided between them under this part, and the allocation between the municipalities at all levels of their respective shares of each proceeds, the determination of taxes, due, tolls and fees which may be assigned to or appropriated by the municipalities, the grant in aids to the municipalities from the consolidated fund of the state. These will be the agenda that have been set for the State Finance Commission. That apart, the measures needed to improve the financial position of the municipalities. When it comes to the municipalities, they have a lot of work in terms of how, for example, if you take the state of Karnataka and the capital of Karnataka, Bengaluru, what we have is the BBMPs, the municipalities, the Bengaluru Mahanagara Palike. These are the ones who take care of the local conditions. So these municipalities or the BBMPs have a lot of work. They will have to put these roads, they'll have to put the lighting as well, they will have to ensure that the roads are intact. So they have a lot of work in the form of sanitation, or for example the UGD, so on and so forth. When they require money, how does this entire process work? So how does this entire process work? So they collect the money from the state governments, and the state governments dispose the money, and this particular money is ultimately spent by the municipalities. So where do they get the money from? Through the grant in aid, through the money as well. So in this particular backdrop, the measures needed to improve the financial position. So they have a lot of groundwork to do. How do we improvise on it? That is what the State Finance Commission will also recommend. And then any other matter referred to the Finance Commission by the governor in the interest of the sound finance of the municipalities is also what we have to focus on. Then the second clause says the governor shall cause every recommendation made by the commission under this article, together with an explanatory memorandum as to action taken thereon, to be laid before the legislature of the state. These are the recommendations with respect to the State Finance Commission, and this is what the State Finance Commission has to do. And now this is with respect to the preliminary examination point of view. But from the mains examination point of view, there are a couple of concerns with respect to the State Finance Commission. What are these concerns? When was the Finance Commission, State Finance Commission come into existence? when the 73rd and the 74th constitutional amendment came into the picture. So by now what we should have is the 5th State Finance Commission. But many states are still in the 3rd Finance Commission, which means that these finance commissions should be appointed every 5 years, have not yet been appointed as well. These finance commissions which have to be appointed every 5 years, they have not been appointed as well, and ultimately this constitutional mandate of appointing the State Finance Commission to look into the municipalities and the Panchayati Raj is not being met in couple of states as well. That happens to be the first major concern and an issue. So ideally these state finance commissions have to be appointed, but they have not been appointed in couple of states in India. That happens to be the first major concern. So what is the first concern? Not being setting up the state finance commissions regularly. The second is formally accepted by the state government, nor was the SFC report laid before the central government. What happens is, whenever there is a recommendation given by the State Finance Commission, what exactly happens? These State Finance Commission reports should be considered, or to a certain extent they have to be at least be implemented. But in most of the states, and as per the data that we have the State Finance Commission as per the constitutional mandate, they are appointed. Once they are appointed, they also give their recommendation as well. But these recommendations are not accepted by the state legislature. These recommendations have not been implemented by the state legislature. So what is the use of you appointing this entire process, or the state legislature appointing the State Finance Commission? At least we know for the fact that when it comes to the Union Finance Commission, it is voluntary in nature. But even though it is voluntary in nature, that they don't have to comply by the report of the Finance Commission, the Union government makes it a parameter, makes it an issue, and ultimately implements it in most of the cases. But has it been the same when it comes to the state cases? No, it is not. Why? Because they're not even listening to the State Finance Commission. The recommendation have been put to the dust as well. They're not even considering this particular recommendation. They have not been formally accepted by the state governments. These recommendations have not been put into implementation and into practice as well, and that happens to be a fundamental problem when it comes to the State Finance Commission. And these Finance Commission also do not submit the reports on time as well. So there have been given a prescribed parameter. They have to make sure that there is a particular period within which they have to give these reports, but they have not yet been giving these reports, and ultimately there is no seriousness when it comes to the actual implementation, when it comes to the Panchayati Raj as well as the municipalities. They also do not have the reliable data. The quantifiable data that is given to them is not reliable, and the compositions are largely of the serving or the retired bureaucrats rather than the academics. Even the politicians are appointed in certain places. What do the politicians know about the data? There are few people who might have an educational background to understand, but this is the domain of the experts. This is the domain of the experts of the public affairs, and these people should be majorly appointed. When political people with political affiliations become part of the Finance Commission, that will not help, and that happens to be another major issue. And there is also inferior constitutional status of the State Finance Commission to the Union Finance Commission. So the Union Finance Commission works with the constitutional integrity, but when it comes to the State Finance Commission, that respect and command and camaraderie is not present, says this article. So basically, when we speak about the concerns and issues surrounding the State Finance Commission, these are the major issues. So what is the way forward? As much as the Union Finance Commission is respected, complied and executed, the same respect and command and respect will have to be given to the State Finance Commission. The State Finance Commission should be revered, the State Finance Commission should be respected, and the recommendations of the State Finance Commission have to be implemented as well. These are some of the recommendations with respect to this article. Nitin C says, good morning. Darshan Goda says it's 41%. Kindly take a look once again into if it's 41 or 42%. If it is 41%, I'm ready to make a change here. And if it's 42%, kindly look into it. Class timing, sir, it is between 7:45. It starts at 7:45 a.m. every day in the morning. And if at all there is a clash between Kannada and English, what we will have is the English video which will be uploaded as well. And for those of you who wish to understand what the women rights are, women property rights are, recently I'm happy to say that I was part of one of the discussions on the DD Chandana live program, and me being an advocate, I do have an idea about how the laws work, the women property laws work. So I was part of one of the discussions on DD Chandana. The same video and the link has been put up on the Telegram channel as well. In case anyone of you would want to understand how the women property rights work, I was part of the discussion. So we have put it on the Telegram channel as well. You can take a keen look into it. Is there any group I can get the class reminder? We do put up the notifications on the YouTube community post. So every day at 7:45 we will have is the live session of the English classes, and that apart we also put it on the Telegram channel as well. So you can also look into the Telegram channel, Mr. Nitin. And now let's look into the next article. This article is important from your preliminary examination point of view. What does it speak about? It speaks about Medaram Jatra. This can be very important from your preliminary examination point of view. What are the facts that you have to remember? This takes place every 2 years at Medaram village of Tadai Mandal in the Mulugu district of Telangana. So where does it take place? It takes place in the state of Telangana. That happens to be the first parameter, and it was declared as the state festival in Telangana. It commemorates the fight of a mother and daughter, Samakka and Saralamma, with the reigning rulers against an unjust law. So what exactly happened during the specific period? There were laws that were created by the rulers which were against the progress of the people in that locality, and they felt that this law that was imposed by the ruler is unjust, is not right, and as a result you have the mother and daughter Samakka and Saralamma who fought against these unjust laws that were not supposed to have been implemented in the first place. So which is why the commemoration of this Medaram Jatra is also in the name of Samakka and Saralamma. This Jatra also has a tribal origin as well. Jampanna Vagu is a tributary to river Godavari. According to the history, Jampanna is a tribal warrior and the son of tribal goddess Samakka. These are some of the important parameters that you have to remember from the preliminary examination point of view. So this Medaram Jatra is in the state of Telangana. It happens to be the state festival of Telangana, and it was created, or it came into existence primarily because there was an unjust law that was created during a specific period. As a fight against this unjust law, Samakka and Saralamma took up this initiative. Now let's look into the next article for the day. This article here is speaking about two important parameters. One is with respect to Raisina dialogue. We will try and understand what is the Raisina dialogue all about. The second is with respect to NB8. What is this NB8? This happens to be with respect to Nordic-Baltic cooperation. So we will try and understand two issues in this article. One is the Raisina dialogue. The second happens to be Nordic-Baltic cooperation, or the NB8. First, let us understand what is it about the Raisina dialogue. When we speak about Raisina dialogue, what is it? This happens to be a conference. This conference takes place in India every year, where in the Raisina Hills in New Delhi. So the very name Raisina dialogue is coming from the Raisina Hills, which happens to be an elevation in New Delhi, which happens to be the seat of government of India, as well as the presidential palace of India, Rashtrapati Bhavan. So the Raisina dialogue takes place in India. It happens to be a conference. It happens to be an international conference of whom? Of all the people from multiple countries. So this is similar to the Shangri-La dialogue that is held in Singapore. This conference is hosted by Observer Research Foundation, an independent think tank, in collaboration with the Ministry of External Affairs of India. So what exactly happens in this Raisina dialogue? This Raisina dialogue was initiated back in the year 2016. Why was it initiated? That is because India always felt that it has a global profile. What do we mean by global profile? As much as United States of America has its imprint across couple of countries, as much as United Kingdom has its imprint across couple of countries, where United States of America is dictating terms to couple of countries, or China has relationship with couple of countries, India also felt that I have to take the responsibility. We have to take the responsibility to create a platform where India is taking the initiative of coming up with this entire conference, and India has a global profile. India has its print or imprint in many countries as well. So we have to create a narrative to push what India wants to aspire, to push a narrative what India wants to achieve, to push a narrative as to what India has to create solutions to a specific problem. For example, there are issues with respect to United States of America or Iran, or for example Russia with Ukraine, or for example in the Middle East right now or the West Asia, what we have is issues between Israel as well as Palestine. So these are the international diplomatic issues. For all the international diplomatic issues that are existing, what are the solutions that India wants to bring? So United States of America has a specific issue. United States of America has a problem about the world affairs, and what is United States of America's solution to this particular problem is one way of looking at it. So why not create a platform or a conference or one particular area or a region of discussion where India wants to put out a specific solution to the world problem. So there is United States of America and Iran issue, or there is Afghanistan issue, there is West Asia issue, or that is Ukraine issue. So these are the issues that are existing in the world. So for this existing issue, what is India's solution to it? What is India's narrative to it? What is India's idea about this particular issue? How are we going to bring a change in the world parameter? What are we going to implement? These are the issues that we will be focusing on. So for the existing problem, what is India's narrative towards it is what is called as the Raisina dialogue. So India has increased its global profile world over. India's diaspora is present world over, and as a result, how are we going to play a significant role in the international arena is what is this Raisina dialogue. So because India has increased its global profile, we have to play a proactive role in the international relations. We have specific ideas as well. So in order to accommodate all these ideas, what we have is scholars from the world, researchers from the world, who ultimately come to this particular platform and discuss about it. So you will have politicians coming from world over. What you will have is the think tank that will be coming up. What you will have is scholars that will be coming up. What you will also have is researchers that will be coming up, and these experts and researchers and people are all experts from the international relations. They come over to Delhi, discuss the parameters, and ultimately a narrative of India or a viewpoint of India, the idea to a problem, a solution from India will be discussed as part of the Raisina dialogue, and this happens to be an initiative of India. So similar to the Shangri-La dialogue, where there is an international conference that takes place in Singapore, what we have is this initiative taken by India. Now, as part of the assignment, there is one of the other dialogues or the conference which is initiated in Germany. Which is this conference? What is the conference's name is what you have to put on the comment section. So please ensure that we have other conferences like the Shangri-La dialogue, or for example Raisina dialogue. There is a conference that has been initiated by whom? This happens to be by Germany. What is it is what you have to put on the comment section. Yes, Nitin, it is President Palace. You are right, and the answer is right. Now coming back to the second part of the article, it speaks about NB8. What is NB8? NB8 basically is nothing but Nordic Baltic cooperation. So when we speak about Nordic Baltic cooperation, what does it include? It includes 8 countries. Which are these 8 countries? Denmark, Estonia, Finland, Iceland, Latvia, Lithuania, Norway as well as Sweden. So you can be asked a question. There is NB8, which is part of the Nordic Baltic countries. Which country is not part of it? Or they might give you options of 8 countries. They may ask you another country which you may be put in there, and they may ask you which is the country which is not part of it. So you should be in a position to answer it. So what we have is Denmark, Estonia, Finland, Iceland, Latvia, Lithuania, Norway and Sweden, which are part of these NB8 countries. What is this article speaking about? The article here is primarily speaking about 2 important parameters. One, the article goes on to say that we have some international issues. For example, we have Russia and Ukraine issue. There is respect for international rules based order. So what this article says is that if at all there is escalation of the ties, or there is an aggressor and an aggression taking place, or there is a warlike situation, we countries will have together mold and build a partnership and ultimately ensure that peace prevails in all these countries. So these countries go on to say that they have a lot of respect for the human rights. They are the champions of the democracy. They ultimately believe in all the human rights that have to be respected. They believe in following the rules-based order. In order to achieve it, they require cooperation. So these 8 countries are ready to bridge the differences amongst all the countries and enhance on this particular front. And these countries, that is the NB8 countries, the Nordic as well as the Baltic countries, are linked geographically. They have deep historical ties, social ties, economic ties, cultural ties. So they are all planning to come up together and ultimately create a new environment for the global trade. That apart, these countries also have a very good relationship with India. So what are they focusing on? When it comes to India, the focus is basically on the Nordic Baltic cooperation between India, which spans across green transition, innovation, maritime issues, health related issues, intellectual property related issues, space cooperation, artificial intelligence, student exchange, that is people from India go and study in these Nordic as well as Baltic countries. Those people come to India, understand the culture and the tourism factor, and ultimately we increase the cooperation between India and the Nordic and the Baltic countries. That apart, cultural exchanges will take place, tourism will be developed, and trade and investment will also figure as part of India and these countries. So basically this article goes on to say that we have NB8 countries. These countries are in consensus with each other. These countries feel that if at all there is an aggressor and an aggressor state and a victim state, then we are ready to cooperate. We have to increase the trust, we have to increase the bonhomie, and we have to follow peace and tranquility world over. And that apart, in order to scale up the cooperation between India as well as these Nordic and Baltic countries, we need to enhance and take up more number of steps. Is what is this article all about? It is this that we have to understand with respect to this article. Now let's look into the next article for the day. This article says grey zone warfare. We have to understand what this grey zone warfare is. Why? Because UPSC and KPSC has asked questions in the past like what is the zero sum game. So if at all they have asked questions like zero sum game, the grey zone warfare could also be asked. This is important from your internal security point of view. So what is this grey zone warfare? As the very name denotes, grey zone basically means that it is in the zone which is not black, it is not white. What is black? War is the symbol of black. Then you have peace, which is a symbol of white. Between war and peace time, if at all there are certain tactics that are being performed, that is what is called as the grey zone warfare. So warfare will have its own share, which is black in nature. At the time of peace, it is white in nature. So between the black and white, what we have is a grey zone. So between the war and the peace, there is a specific time, and that during a specific period of time, if tactics have evolved, that is what is called as grey zone tactics. So the grey zone tactics, the grey zone warfare, the grey zone confrontation, and the conflict relates to the use of non-military means below the threshold of armed conflict to achieve the political objectives. Let me give you an example. If we have to take the example, let's say there is a specific government. Activities like political and election meddling, for example, there are countries which involved in political meddling in some other country. For example, there are elections that are taking place in some other country. I influence the outcome of another country's elections either by putting up a candidate who is close to me or ensuring that there is political support to one political party, and that is what is called as grey zone warfare. Then there are cyber threats and attacks, economic coercion, use of proxies, and many other measures including military action is what is called as the warfare in terms of the grey area. So grey zone confrontation is the dangerous grey area between the period of peace and warfare. What are some of the examples? If we have to focus on examples, trade coercion and sanctions on selected goods to harm the economies. So if at all there is a country which feels that a certain political objective have to be met, if this political objective is not met in that specific case, they will impose the economic sanctions. Bribery of key people in the government and industry. Because I have to influence the government outcome and a specific policy, there are few key people within the government. For example, it can be the ministers, it can be the bureaucrats. Let's bribe them, ensure that a specific policy is in such a nature that it is ultimately going to help some other country. So there is a political party in India. I don't want to name the political party because these people would ultimately slap something on me. So this political party basically feels that United States of America is a threat to India, but then it supports China as well. Despite we having wars fought against China, despite we continuing to have aggression by China, this political party still continues to exist, and this political party continues to support China as well. They do not speak anything odd about China. They do not take a stance against China, and so bribery of key people in government and industry can also be taken up because they have an influence to wield the power. And at the same time, lobbying of key people in industry and other areas who then lobby the government to bring in policies similar to that. Media manipulation can take place. Disinformation, deliberately crafted lies, and cyber intrusions into government and industry computer networks are the key ways as to how they operate in order to win the grey zone confrontation or the grey zone warfare. To take one example that has happened internationally, how did Russia influence the outcome in Crimea? So Crimea was part of Ukraine. So this was taken off. So Crimea ultimately becomes part of Russia. How did Russia ultimately influence this entire outcome and the debacle? What did it do? It dismissed. What is dismissed? Undermining and denigrating opponents and defying facts, ignoring and insulting critics. For example, there are few people in that particular region. These people obviously would want to stay with the specific country. But if at all there are critics who are opposing it, if at all there are people who are opponents to this particular thought, these people will be constantly criticized. For example, there can be a specific culture in a specific country. This culture is basically been there for a very long period of time. There are people who would want to continue the legacy of this particular culture. But what do the other section of the people do? They have the media power. They also have the influence of a foreign country as well. So constantly hit this particular culture in its homeland. And that is what happens. So dismiss the opponents, dismiss the people who support this very thought, and also dismiss the critics as well. So dismissing the opponents and the critics basically to say that whatever submissions that have been made by these people is factually incorrect in nature is what is the first idea of implementation. So dismiss the opponents and the critics. Second is to distort. What is distorting? There is a specific fact and there is a specific truth to it. Change the truth and the fact in itself, twisting the facts and making up evidence, putting out a false version of reality. That Jammu and Kashmir is always part of India, integral part of India, and will always be an integral part of India. But what does the China say? China says historically so and so part was China, was part of the civilization of China, and Pakistan, as we all know, was born in the year 1947, claims the state of Jammu and Kashmir. That's the ludicrousy, that's the loony nature of Pakistan that exists when it comes to the state of Jammu and Kashmir. So what is China and Pakistan trying to do? They're trying to create and twist the facts as well. But we always know Jammu and Kashmir will be part of India for eternity. But what do? They try to twist the facts as well. But can it be accepted? Not at all. So first is to dismiss the critics, dismiss the opponents. Second is to distort the facts, peddle the lies as well. Third is to distract, turning people attention from their activities to other countries' activities. The what about what you are doing tactic. For example, there was COVID-19 period. During the COVID-19 period, there was aggression of China towards India because the actual fact is that China was not able to maintain and keep up to its health related parameter. There were many people who were passing away. It required the diversionary tactic. So what does it do? It says India is the external enemy. So let's focus right now on the war. The major issue within China was that it was not able to manage the COVID-19 crisis. It was not able to manage the COVID-19 crisis, so it has to divert the attention. How will it divert the attention? Say that India is the external enemy. India happens to invade China. No, we don't invade countries. We are the countries which have not fought aggressive wars. We have not invaded any countries as such. But how does China project? China project by saying that India is the aggressor. So right now COVID-19 is not the issue. India being the aggressor is the issue. So distracting the people of that particular locality to focus on something else happens to be the distraction tactics. And finally, dismay, using lurid and terrifying hypothesis, frightening the target audience. Let me give you another example. For example, Shashi Tharoor puts out in a very beautiful way that every country and its government has an army, but Pakistan's army has a country. So what does Pakistan do? It peddles lies. It creates hypothesis. It creates frightening audience. How? It says India is an enemy of the Pakistan. India is an enemy of Pakistan, and as a result it keeps peddling this lies every now and then. So it takes a larger part of its budget, starts investing in the defense of the country, and ultimately creates fake narratives and ultimately frightens the audience or the people of the Pakistan to make and believe that India is an aggressor country for Pakistan, which is not true, but Pakistan makes its people believe so. So this grey war tactics or the grey zone tactics is basically between the peace and between the war, what are the action plans that are taken by the country, so that the other country that does not know that these plans have been executed. That is what happens in the grey zone tactics or the grey zone warfare. Now let's look into the next article. This article says PSBs can now check on big borrowers on unified portal. What is this article speaking about? The public sector banks would now be able to check the antecedents of the large borrowers and ascertain the existence of non-performing assets against their name in a single click, a move that is expected to help expedite lending decisions. What do we understand by this? Let's say, for example, we have Vijay Mallya. Unfortunately, he's tried a business and then it didn't work out and he is gone from the country. So he has taken, let's say, for example, bank loans from couple of banks. So he has taken bank loan from, let's say, SBI or from HDFC or ICICI Bank. Has he been able to pay the money on right time? That is, whenever you do not pay the money that you have taken the premium and the interest rate on the right time, it will become a non-performing asset. So whether this person who's taken the loan or the money from the bank, is he paying it on time? The bank which is lending the money has to know about it, and at the same time, if at all this person has defaulted or the money that he's taken has become a non-performing asset, the bank have to know about it. So if at all a bank has to take a decision on the lending parameters, what are the lending parameters? That basically means that if at all there is a bank which is given the money, there has to be another bank which also has to decide whether money has to be dispersed to this individual or not. So how do I lend? Will have to be dependent on the other parameters, like whether this person has repaid the money, is there a non-performing asset, is it been following a line or a parameter in paying back the money on a specific period of time. All this has to be keenly followed by the bank which is subsequently issuing the loan amount. So how do I ascertain that? That is where we have an automated search portal for antecedent verification of the prospective borrowers as well as the NPAs. So this will streamline intelligence clearance process for banks. It was operationalized this week by the Central Economic Intelligence Bureau in collaboration with the State Bank of India, the Indian Banks Association. So under the framework for timely detection, reporting, investigating relating to large value bank frauds, Department of Financial Services under the Finance Ministry had mandated all PSBs to seek a report from the CEB before sanctioning loans exceeding 50 crores. So if at all they are sanctioning loans, anything which has exceeding 50 crores, they have to seek the permission from the Central Economic Intelligence Bureau, and they will have all the information with a single automated search, and ultimately after they give the permission, they can go ahead and issue the dispersal of the money. So in order to prevent this financial fraud, continuation of the non-performing assets, subsequent lenders suffering because of it, we have this particular portal that is created. Is what is this article all about? In case you have any of the questions or you want me to discuss any of the topics, please put it on the comment section so that I can take up these articles for the discussion. So this is it for today. In case you're liking these initiatives, please to hit on the like button, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and also share it with your fellow aspirants as well. Thank you for watching. All the best.